Well, it's no doubt that COVID-19 is going to have a substantial impact on the landlording and property management community. And one of the impacts is financially. We know that come April 1st and May 1st, tenants are going to have a hard time paying the rent in many parts of the country. So in this video, I'm going to outline 6 things that managers and landlords can do to help minimize and mitigate some of that financial risk. All of that in this video. Hi everyone, my name is Vojchehoske. I'm the director of Randall School of Real Estate. Thanks for joining us today. Real quick before we get started, do me a favor. If you would give this video a thumbs up, click on that little red subscribe button and click on that little notification bell and share this video with somebody that you think might benefit from its contents. So, we know that it's a stressful time for tenants and landlords and property managers. There's a lot of financial considerations here and a lot of financial concerns. But I think that there are 6 things that managers and landlords can do to help minimize and mitigate some of that stress and help better prepare for the future. I read an article about 2 days ago that said in some areas of the country it is estimated between 50 and 70% of a manager's tenant pool may not be able to pay their rent April 1st. That is substantial, and the reason is job losses. There's no avoiding it. It's going to happen. I think it's going to be worse in some parts of the country over the other, and depending on the tenant's socioeconomic status, if they work in those industries that have been hit hard by layoffs, that all matters in the grand scheme of things. But there are some things that we can do to minimize that. Number 1, landlords and managers, communicate with your tenant pool and start now. Whether it's an email, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a letter, whatever it is, we need to let the tenants know a couple of things. Number 1, let them know that in Nebraska there has been no rent moratorium, there has been no abatement of rent. The tenant still must make their April 1st rent payment. They are obligated and responsible to do that. Please do it in a way that shows empathy though. Understand they're people, they're stressed out, they have kids, they have families. Everybody's just trying to get through this thing, so have empathy when you do it. Now, ultimately, come April 1st, if they can't make their rent payment, you're going to have a decision to make. Do you work with them and help them get through this, or do you just say, you know what, sorry, I have to move on, and you evict them? I can't answer that. Only thing I can tell you is have a plan one way or another, but please, I do think it's prudent to develop a plan for partial rent payments. So that takes us to idea number 2. And that is develop a plan for partial rent payments, at least for those that have lost their jobs. Now, we all know there are going to be those that try to leverage. I get that. You can handle them differently than the ones that are facing serious financial issues here. Quite frankly, I'm looking at this period and what's going on a lot like December. A lot of times we'll go to great lengths not to evict a tenant in December because December is a horrible month to try to find a new tenant. Plus, usually then we're paying the December utilities. So sometimes we do things we don't want to do for the best decision of the business. And sometimes it's better to take a partial rent payment in December and then work on evictions in January simply because it's the best thing to do. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here. Let's say that rent is $1,000 a month and the tenant calls and says, I can't make the April 1st payment. And you ask, well, how much can you pay? Maybe the tenant says, I can't pay anything. I don't have the money. In that case, you have to decide what you're going to do. But maybe they say, I can make a $500 payment. So maybe you allow them to make that $500 payment. Then you take the other $500 and you break it up in monthly payments added on to the monthly rent for the remaining term of their tenancy. Maybe you establish guidelines. Maybe you say that, hey, I'm going to do this for April 1st and May 1st. After that, rent is $1,000 a month, and then every month they're making up that difference that they realized April 1st and May 1st. Just be creative. Have fun with it. Come up with a cool name, whatever you want to call it. Have a cool acronym. But reach out to your tenant pool ahead of time and offer it to them, or offer it to those that call you and say they can't make their April 1st payment. Now, as always, anything that you do where we're modifying the terms of the lease agreement, get it in writing. We want no he said or she said. And one last thing with this, because I've been hearing some bad advice out there on YouTube and whatnot. in particular from landlord trainings and property management trainers. I've heard many of the trainers out there say if you're going to do a partial rent program, do it for your good tenants or your best tenants. Here's what I'm going to tell you based on my experience as a fair housing trainer. If you're going to do that, you better pick and choose and have a solid selection, tenant selection, or a solid selection plan for this program that isn't discriminatory, or you're probably going to end up facing some fair housing complaints. I've warned you. Number 3, record all rent losses as a COVID-19 expenditure for the stimulus purposes. Now, I know many of us have heard that Congress is working on a stimulus package. The one consistency that I have heard through all the negotiations is they want to put in some kind of thing that allows business owners like you and I to be able to either get tax credits or cash vouchers or whatever the case, some kind of help for actual direct COVID-19 expenditures. So let me give you an idea what I'm talking about here. Let's say that your tenant can't make April 1st rent payment, and then you have to use your line of credit to pay April 1st payment. Certainly, as soon as you draw on that line of credit, you're going to start paying interest and finance charges. I think that's a direct COVID-19 related expense. And so I would take that finance charge and put it in my COVID-19 expenditure in my bookkeeping system. And I talked more about that in a different video that I did a couple of days ago. If you just look right up here, there's a little I. Click on that and that'll link you to the video where we discuss that. Number 4, we need to start reaching out to all of our mortgage note holders now and find out what the mortgage companies are offering as far as help for those folks those of us that have mortgages. What does that help look like? Because here's the thing. Every mortgage company has a different process and a different program. And if you own 20, 25 rental properties, you may have 20 or 25 different lenders, each with different programs. We need to know what those programs are now, ahead of time, before it becomes an issue, so then we can efficiently and aggressively react when it comes time to react. One of the lessons learned from 2008 and 9 mortgage debacle was, back then, the companies would just say, hey, you're responsible for paying the monthly mortgage, do it or we'll foreclose. Well, they learned their lesson. Now, they're all starting to reach out to us saying, hey, if we can help, let us know. We need to take advantage of that and know what it looks like. Because again, every company is going to have a different model and a different process, and we need to know from a risk management, because if one mortgage company has a really good program but another one doesn't, you may need to reallocate your resources towards that property where the lender isn't as helpful, where you can get away with some stuff here you can't here. So again, it's a planning tool. So that's why we need to reach out and find out the processes and the programs ahead of time. One other thing, I have a friend of mine that owns a 12-plex, and to illustrate what I'm talking about here, he received notice from his lender that there's help available should they get into financial trouble down the road, but it would be based on the number of documented tenants not paying rent. That's one of the criteria. So that landlord needs to reach out to that bank and say, okay, what specific details do you need me to provide that constitutes that documented or that documentation? You see what I mean here? So we need to make sure that we know ahead of time exactly what all of our lenders are going to need. Number 5, we need to start identifying potential high-risk tenants now. And what I mean by that is potential for not paying their April 1st payment. Tenants, for example, that work in the food industry or the hotel industry, there's a high probability they've lost their job, and there's a high probability that they're not going to make their full rent payment on April 1st, or at least they're going to be in that situation where they may be in a partial rent payment program. Again, we need to identify this ahead of time, and we get that information hopefully from the application. So we need to make sure that we're proactive about this. The other thing is let's say you have a property that has a high-risk tenant. Then you look at your mortgage company and you call ahead and find out that their programs that they're putting for financial help isn't that good. I'm going to classify that property now as a high-risk property. And so that's going to require me then to do a few things. Maybe I'm going to open up a line of credit for that property. Maybe I'm going to then allocate resources from other areas for that high-risk property. It just gives you an opportunity to identify the high-risk properties and the high-risk tenants so you can see where you're at, so you can build a model so you can sustain this crisis. Number 6. If you think you might need any credit lines to help you weather the storm, do it now. There was a mad rush when rates hit 2.5% or 2.75%, and now closings and refis are anywhere from 45 to 60 days out. So we need to be proactive and start those things now. So if you're going to get a line of credit, call the bank yesterday. That'll give you time to get all your documents in order and all that. What we don't want to do is wait till we actually need it and our rent payments or our mortgage payments are due and we're up against the wall and then we're starting the process. Let's get this stuff done now. And don't forget, if there are any fees, membership fees, annual fees, or anything that goes along with opening up those lines of credits, it's a good opportunity to expense them as a COVID-19 expense. So don't forget that. All right, folks, that's all I got for this video. Thanks for hanging out. Real quick, do me a favor if you would. Don't forget to share this with somebody that might benefit. Listen, if you have an idea or you're doing something or whatever it is that's helping you with your business to get through this crisis, don't be stingy. Share it with the rest of us that's out there. Let's help each other get through this crisis. And by the way, I know a lot of people are stressed, but we will make it through this. This will be short-lived. In a couple of months, we'll be on the downswing and things will start back to getting normal. But in the meantime, let's help each other out. So with all that being said, be safe out there. See you in the next video.